When you like to have just up there,
Ja, ali se še 5 minut, da se nabere zvek.
Lep pozdrav sem skupaj, dobrodošli na zadnjem panelu oziroma na zadnji sekciji današnjega pokosilnega, oziroma pokosilni del, oziroma del po obedu. Upam, da ste spili kakšno kavo in upam, da vas bomo uspeli vsaj koliko toliko spraviti sebi in napraviti to sekcijo tudi zanimivo. First of all, I would like to apologize to our English guests. We will be speaking in Slovenian, but I guess you will have a very good translation, so thank you very much. Torej, zadnja sekcija je namenjena temi sobivanja zasebnosti in varnosti v prihodnjem internetu. Moje ime je Benjamin Lesjak, prihajam iz Univerze na Primorskem. Sem pa tudi član oziroma sodelujem s Centrom za varni internet, vŽIVO.si, ki v Sloveniji poskuša med mladimi in med njihovimi starši ter učitelji dvigniti kulturo uporabe varne rabe interneta in odgovorne rabe interneta. Kot rečeno, današnja tema sobivanja zasebnosti in varnosti v prihodnjem internetu jo bom poskušal izpeljati s pomočjo 4 gostov, in sicer z nami je Andreja Bekali, direktor za odnose z deležniki v Evropi, Internet Corporation for Silent Names and Numbers, ICANN. Z nami je Domen Česnik, direktor žabec.net, oziroma zabec.net. Na moji desni gospa Valida Hromadžič, koordinatorica programov za internetne pravice in pravice žensk One World Platform iz Bosne, ter še Georgi Hari Popescu iz Združenja za tehnologijo in internet Romunija. Če boste imeli vmes željo po intervenciji, vprašanjih, dajte mi malo pomahati, nakazati in vam bomo takoj dali besedo. Sicer pa bom začel s prvim vprašanjem. Mogoče, glede na to, da sem začel v slovenščini, govoriš, Domen, da prva stvar, ki bi jo vprašal, namreč v tej sekciji bomo govorili o 3-4 stvarih. Eno je varnost, zagotavljanje varnosti. Druga stvar, govorili bomo o vplivu te varnosti oziroma vplivu zagotavljanja varnosti na našo zasebnost. In tretja taka stvar, oziroma tretja, ki jo bomo izpostavili, so pametne naprave, ki nam nekako omogočajo neko lagodno življenje in na koncu bomo poskušali povzeti še vse v okvir te splošne uredbe o varstvu osebnih podatkov, se pravi ta GDPR, ki stopi v veljavo 25. maja 2018. Mogoče prvo vprašanje, Zlatko Domen, imaš doma kakšno pametno napravo, ki lahko resno ogrozi tvojo zasebnost?
Mislim. Če? Halo?
Ok. Mislim, vsak od nas jo ima. To, ker pač vsak od nas bo s sabo pametni telefon, s tem smo dali vse skozi. Sicer doma imam pametni termostat, smo se že prej pogovarjali, sem se dolg časa ukvarjal s tem, ker pač želim iz posle prižigati ogretje in hranjenje, ampak sem se dolg časa ukvarjal s tem, a narediti to sam, a kupiti nekaj poceni, pa sam se šlaupati. Ampak konec koncev sem si v bistvu umislil enega znanega proizvajalca, za katerega vem, kdo je, vem, da posodablja napravo, ker sem tudi preveril samo od sebe, ker to sem. In točno vem, koga poiskati, če bo kaj narobe. Sem se pač zelo sam sabo ukvarjal s to mislijo, Raspberry je pa obvesti rekel, da ga imaš, ampak sam nimam toliko časa, da bi to redno posodabljal, zato mi je ta rešitev nekoga preverjenega veliko boljša.
Ok, hvala. Georgi, ko smo pri kosilu malo debatirala o teh zadevah, si omenil eno izmed pametnih naprav, ki lahko bistveno, pravzaprav, jo lahko spustimo dobesedno v spalnico. In v koliki meri lahko pričakujemo, da bo porast takih naprav, ne govorimo o pametnih telefonih, pač pa o čisto navadnih napravah, ki so dejansko priključene na internet, kot so hladilniki, ne vem, klimatske naprave, za ogrevanje naprave. Si omenil, da imaš neko, oziroma eno zgodbo si mi omenil, ki obstaja v zvezi z eno izmed naprav. Če lahko mogoče malo podeliš.
Actually, I thought you wanted to start with a smartwatch, but you wanted to be brutal. Yeah, so I told him about a case from this year, March, I think. A vibrator Canadian maker was sued and had to pay 4 million Canadian dollars because their products were collecting sensitive data like temperature, intensity. The data collected went back to the producer, and the producer would use those information to were using them for marketing purposes, to offer other products to their customers. And there is another famous case, I think it's from 2 years ago, when a father found out that his daughter is pregnant with the use of an envelope that he received in the mail. It was an offer for some birth products. So the girl had ordered online condoms. I guess they didn't work, and the producer offered her some other products based on the personal details that he collected online. So yeah, of course, smart gadgets are all around us. Sometimes we don't even call them smart anymore. They are normal machines that we use in everyday life. Even the coffee maker can be smart, but we don't think about it as being smart. But it may be connected to wireless. Amazon Echo is a smart device, but it's just a small box that sits in a room and listens to all the conversations. About safety, I was thinking, because we are the last ones today, we listen to everybody, and I took some notes, and I will tell you some examples, especially from Romania. But about safety, people in Romania, when doing online shopping, they like to research a lot. I don't know if it's because they are educated to think about safety. regarding gadgets, but it's because they have a limited budget and they want to use it as for the best in the best possible way. Safety for smart gadgets wasn't regulated until recently. Internet of Things wasn't an issue when talking about privacy until recently, but more and more things that we use around, I guess, will be regulated in the future.
Andreja, kako se pri ICANN odzivate na vse splošno poplavo vseh teh naprav, ki se pojavljajo od recimo kosilnic, od romba, tistih robotov, ki premerijo stanovanje in dejansko lahko pošljajo ponudniku teh robotskih naprav podatke o vaših stanovanju. To je eno vprašanje z vidika zasebnosti in drugo vprašanje, kako dejansko se te naprave kažejo v celotnem tem internetnem okolju. Ne nazadnje, kdaj bo zmanjkalo IP številk za vse te naprave, ki nas bodo dejansko preplavile?
Thank you. Apologies for not being able to go very far with my non-existent Slovenian, but I can pick up some words here and there, but I won't try. So you put some very interesting questions, and also the comments that you made made me think a lot. So what is the role of ICANN into that? Well, our role actually it's an interesting one, and I'm not sure that I will be able to answer all your questions. What is the impact on that? But what we do basically is to provide the addressing system. It's like the phone book of the internet, and the phone book in this case works for us, for human. Because when we want to go to a website, we go there and we need to be able to type a URL, and then the machine will turn this URL into an IP address. But machines, they actually, in this case, are smarter than us. They don't need the translation between the letters and the numbers. They don't need the numbers, but they will use the same phone book. So for ICANN, machines and humans, they have no much difference. Now, the question that you pointed out is what will happen with this explosion of machines that will be using this system. And one case that came to my mind was a case of a few months ago of attack, a denial of service attack perpetrated through Internet of Things devices to the DNS, so to this addressing system. And you may have heard about it. It was called Mirai, and there was an attack done by hacking a very low or non-existent security features that baby cameras. That you could buy for a few dollars, $20, $30 online on shops. And those are cameras that if you have a newborn, you will put it on the bed and you would keep always an eye on your baby. You can check on your mobile phone if the baby starts crying, maybe it will alert you. So someone found out that these devices had almost no security, and they could hack the firmware, so this piece of software that is embedded into the machine, and use those machines to basically relay denial of service attacks. And they were so successful that big part of the eastern coast of the US went actually down, and big services weren't available. Twitter was down for many hours, and that's, I think, just one hint on what could be the scale of cyber attacks, of the use of those devices in a world where the numbers are staggering. I mean, I read some estimates where 50 billion of objects will be connected to the internet. So for us, ICANN, as of now, there is not much difference. Maybe there is one difference, but it's only as of now, because those devices, they don't make policies in ICANN. They're only devices. I wouldn't see an ICANN meeting where a fridge and a baby camera will come there and say, look, I think we need to, wait and see what artificial intelligence will do in a few years, and maybe we'll have to have a constituency of those. But what we do, that's very important, it's clear here, is that we only manage this simple but yet essential addressing system. And the last point that you mentioned is the IP addresses, IPv4 addresses and IPv6 addresses. This is an issue that actually indeed has a relevance, and because those, I mean, just to be very short and very superficial in that, but every time that you connect to the internet, your device needs an IP number because it needs to be identified to that. And the version of IP numbers that we commonly use in our run out. Physically, you're gonna have, it's a limited number that you cannot have anymore. So the risk is that you won't be able to connect new devices to the internet. There is a new protocol called IP version 6, which allows a way larger numbers, and so it's not infinite, it's not such a thing as an infinite number, you will teach me, but it goes in very large numbers. But this is a voluntary adoption, and if not everybody passes to that, you see something that we wouldn't expect, but it's happening. You see secondary market of IPv4 addresses. So there are companies that are buying IP addresses and then reselling them because there is a shortage. So that's just, thank you.
Thank you. Benjamin, sorry, I just wanted to relay something to Andreas' note about hacking. There are instances that hacking is not needed. There is an instance, I know, of a HTTP server that quotes on these devices that has burned in admin username and password. That's the, how do you say, the way how the security is thought about. They don't think about that. That's the problem with those current IoT devices that are coming now, that security is not an issue.
I totally agree with that.
Mogoče samo preden, da nadaljujem z vprašanjem, ker imamo še eno gostjo. Takoj, kot ste rekli, oziroma kot smo opazili, ko smo začeli govoriti o IoT napravah in o uporabnikih, oziroma o napakah glede varnosti, trčimo ob uporabnike in izobraževanje uporabnikov. Mogoče, Valinda, na kak način, recimo vi pri vaši non-governmental organizaciji poskušate izobraževati uporabnike glede neke pametne, odgovorne rabe, kar se tiče uporabe teh naprav? Imaš mogoče kakšne izkušnje z tega področja?
Before all, thank you for inviting me. We as organization are dealing with end users. So they usually think the Internet of Things is such a cool thing. And everybody wants to have everything that's new. Even it's a smartwatch, smart TV, whatever. When they come to our trainings, they usually assume, we do assessment, and we assume that they know a lot about the gadgets that they are using. Reality is totally different. They have no clue how internet works. They have no clue nothing what is going on behind their screen of the phone or of the computer. So we all here are gathered with a common theme. We know the internet governance is our core business, but that's the handful of people, and put it in the context of the country, the whole country. End users are not aware of the risks that they are facing each time that they are online. Very often you will hear people saying, "Oh, I should do my banking over in the coffee shop." And when I say, "No, you are not going to do that," they say, "Oh, you are too paranoid." So basically we're dealing with changing the behavior, which is the difficult part of our work. We can give them tools, we can give them tricks, we can give them variety of manuals, but at the end it's up to the users, are they going to adopt it or accept it? But unfortunately, a vast majority of the end users are not aware of the risks and possibilities of the technology.
Hvala lepa. Hvala lepa. Imamo eno vprašanje z občinstva.
Now George, okay. Does it work? Yes. I will switch to English because majority of the panel is English, and I would like to have a direct discussion, not translated discussion. Let me show you. Let me share with you my story, personal story. Now I'm building a house, right? And I'm looking for all these smart devices to put in my new house. And I wanted to buy a smart lock for the front door, right? It's very smart. And then you have this smart doorbell that is connected to the lock, and then you have this camera instead of this thing when you look through. And then your mother comes and wants to water the flowers, and then she rings, and you are in Japan, and you see your mother, and you can unlock remotely your door, and all is fine, everybody's happy. And then I'm reading through the frequently asked questions about this lock, and it says, in case that you lose the doorknob, the Bluetooth knob, or your phone with the certificate and application is without battery, find another phone, call this number, and our people, wherever they are, will be more than happy to unlock your house for you. Ouch. Ouch. All the alarms went on. Red lights, flags, everything. And then I started thinking, so like, wow, does this mean that this would be the same as if I build my house, put in the normal lock, put the key in the envelope, and send it to the random person around the world? Just have my lock, just have my key, please. Here is my key. So the problem of the privacy and the security is not just on each device how secure it is, or if it encrypts, or if it has admin username password on it. It's also where it is controlled from. Is the control, are you keeping the control under your control in your house, or do you let these devices to be controlled from the cloud, from somewhere, where you have no idea what's going on? So what if a hacker breaks into this cloud and unlocks 10,000 doors around the world? Would this be a wake-up call? No. Would it?
Zanimivo izvajanje, zagotovo. Tukaj se pa pojavlja še en drug vidik. Namreč, ko govorimo o pametnih stvareh, jih običajno kupimo od nekih ponudnikov, nekega zasebnega sektorja. Takoj, ko pa vključimo zraven še državo, ki si pa seveda tudi želi pogledati, kaj se z nami dogaja, stvari postanejo zelo resne. Recimo si predstavljate, da imate po vsem stanovanju imate napeljane senzorje za merjenje temperature in ti senzorji pošiljajo državi nekaj, koliko imate vi pač temperaturo, in na osnovi tistega vam država nek davek odračuna za nek ogljični odtis ali neko drugače. Se pravi, hočem reči, da država ima pogled, kako vi želite, kaj delate, in vas na tej osnovi dejansko vam da neko davščino oziroma morate nekaj plačati. Mogoče kak odziv še na ta vidik strani vpletanja države, ne samo zasebnih ponudnikov, pač pa tudi države v to razkrivanje zasebnosti, naše zasebnosti.
Yeah, thank you. Frédéric donc. I'd like to jump on what I heard already about security and IoT, and you mentioned regulation. And well, I believe we should be careful on what we're asking for. The community is extremely divided about the fact on whether we should or not regulate some aspect of the Internet of Things. You know that someone like Bruce Schneier, if you're interested to know more, please check his name, is one of the promoters of hard regulation on the Internet of Things. But again, we should pay attention to this, because one of the caveats that I have, and I'd like to hear you guys about that, is we should not rush on the top of the iceberg, which is the device itself. We're talking about billions of devices. Does it mean that we should regulate billions of devices, from the simple chips to your computer? But also, when we talk about Internet of Things, we should not forget that this is an ecosystem. You got much more than the end device from the retailer. You got a platform, you got developers, you got an ISP, you got the cloud. So regulate just the top of the iceberg might just be missing something. So let's pay attention to what we ask. Thank you.
Well, I'm not a promoter of harsh regulation or extra regulation, but I just pointed out a thing that shows us that the world is constantly changing and gadgets are of all kinds and they do things that we did with our hands or other parts of the body, as I mentioned in the case before. But I think we should insist on education. And it's related to your case with the house and to what Valida said. She said that we are dealing with end users, and somebody has to tell those end users in a funny way, in an intelligent way, maybe a little targeted to the age groups, that they should do that or this. For example, you mentioned you shouldn't do banking in a cafe. But what if you are doing banking in a cafe connected to their public Wi-Fi network? Or what if you're connected to a Wi-Fi that has a similar name to the real Wi-Fi network? But that goes into hacking, let's say. What about telling people they should cover their webcam with a little sticker? Because yeah, nobody knew that they can be controlled remotely, even if we don't have an active application that uses it. And I promised you some examples. And coming back to the association, we started I started working more actively a few months ago, and we saw that we had a problem. Everybody thought that what we do is cool and that the association itself is cool, but nobody knew in detail what we do and why was the association interested in this field. So we thought about creating some campaigns targeted to age groups to show them what they can do with simple tools, doesn't take too much time and so on. So we started several campaigns. One of them is we called it Apti Privacy Tricks, and maybe I can show the example now with the webcam cover. You'll see what I'm talking about. It's not translated in English yet, but I think you'll get the picture. Switch to the tab.
This one? Which one?
Second tab. No, second tab.
And this one.
Pe stradă, la restaurant, la școală sau la birou, suntem mereu supravegheați în lumea de astăzi, indiferent dacă ne place sau nu. Ce putem face pentru a ne proteja mai bine viața privată atunci când folosim dispozitive digitale care pot identifica imaginea, precum calculatorul tău și protecția privată de la distanță, fără ca tu să știi? Crezi că este un număr? Dacă și lui Mark Zuckerberg e teamă de cineva și dacă și Papa Francis își acoperă ochii, înseamnă că e ceva necurat la mijloc. Există mai multe soluții pentru a-ți acoperi request-ul. Poți folosi working capital internet. Există diverse forme și cu tot felul de design-uri. Unele sunt simple, altele sunt mai elaborate. Sau îți poți face singurul capăt webcam folosind materiale și instrumente pe care le găsești prin casă. Poți fi inventiv, poți juca un jucător, ține doar din imaginația ta. Orice variantă ai adopta, acoperă webcam-ul atunci când îl folosești. Pentru că nu se știe niciodată.
So it's just a simple way of showing somebody how to do that, and well, they educated themselves about safety, let's say. We used some simple tools. We didn't pay too much. It's just some time that you have to invest.
Hvala, thank you. Jaz imam v mislih predvsem to problematiko, ko smo vedno prisiljeni v izbiro med dvema konceptoma. Eno je lagodnost uporabe in vse splošna uporabnost, in na drugi strani nimamo nikjer zagotovila, da bo varovana naša zasebnost, oziroma da se zasebnost z vidikom nekega zagotavljanja varnosti, da se očitno prezre. Tukaj, mogoče, če imate kakšno izkušnjo z tega področja, moji sogovorniki.
Jaz imam malo več izkušenj z končnimi uporabniki in točno vem primer Jana, zakaj se to dogaja. Ker mi imamo stroga pravila, kar se tiče menjave podatkov, accessa od tega. Ampak ne moreš si misliti, kolikrat pridemo mi v trg za frustriranimi uporabniki, zakaj moram pa jaz to sta pravega maila poslati, zakaj moram jaz to sta pravega telefona, ali pa se mi je naročil, da to naredim, ali pa se jaz sem direktor tega podjetja. In veš, kakšne probleme imamo mi in pojasniti, ne, da je oprosti, lahko si direktor, lahko si predsednik, lahko si karkoli. Nam se morajo podatki za avtorizacijo ujemati, da kakšne bo nič. Ampak, če hočeš ti biti, verjetno si ti kupil smart cloud od startupa, če hoče biti startup cool, se mora prilagoditi končnim uporabnikom. Končni uporabniki so tisti, ki dajo denar. In pač gleda v bistvu tendenca med securityjem ali pa conveniencem za stranke. In ponavadi žal zmagajo stranke, ker stranke imajo denar.
Nisem ga kupil.
No, sej, vem, da si nisi kupil, ampak večina ljudi ga je. Zakaj? Ker je cool. Ker pač, zgubim, v redu, pridem malo na Berlizgan domov, pokličem me pa že sprostil noter. Ker je to njim, dokler se jim ne bo nekaj zgodil, je to njim super in je to njim prioriteta. Ko pa bo prišlo do hudega incidenta, bojo vsi planili po proizvajalcu, proizvajalec bo klecno, ampak bo prišel naslednji naprej. Z isto tehnologijo, z istim pristopom.
To je treba zablokirati.
Ja, tlej pa regulacija. To je trenutno edina stvar, ki je lahko ustavi, ker ljudje ne bojo, z denarnico bojo še vedno zglasovali, da je enostavno še rešitev. Ja.
Lahko mogoče interveniram?
Samo imam direkten. Jaz mislim, da tukaj je problem to, ker ljudje se ne zavedajo, kaj sploh kupijo. In mislim, da bi bilo izobraziti ljudi in na glas povedati, ena organizacija ali dve ali tri bi morali imeti zelo močen message in povedati ljudem zelo na široko, razmišljate, kaj priklapljate na svoj internet in čemu vi pustite, da upravlja z vašo hišo. Zelo močen message, ker regulacija tukaj ne bo pomagala. Tukaj bo samo izobraževanje ljudi pomagalo, da bojo razumeli, v kaj se spuščajo.
Mogoče en medklic, namreč, kot si prej omenil, Jan, ko bojo pa 10,000 ali pa 100,000 ključavnic naenkrat odprli, potem se bo pa zganil tudi regulator. Oziroma, v primeru, recimo, množične obdelave osebnih podatkov strani par korporacij, oziroma par državnih omrežij, se je Evropska komisija oziroma Evropska unija se je zganila. Tukaj govorim pa o direktivi, splošni uredbi o varstvu osebnih podatkov, se pravi GDPR. In me tukaj zanima vaše mnenje, koliko ste do zdaj že se ukvarjali s to direktivo. Konkretno, kot nekdo iz gospodarstva, ICANN, kako ta GDPR vpliva na njihovo, oziroma na vaše poslovanje, mogoče nevladni sektor in se pravi, nevladni sektor, kjer vidva dejansko upravljata, koliko bo recimo sprejem te direktive oziroma te uredbe po 25. maju, koliko bo to vplivalo na vaše delo oziroma na naš vsak dan.
V Sloveniji še ne vemo točno, kaj bo, ker je prišel predlog zakona šele pred kratkim, tako da čisto točno ne vemo. Je pa moje mnenje tako, Slovenci imamo že dokaj restriktivno zakonodajo in se bomo mogli malo prilagoditi, malo se bo spremenili, ker se to govori o GDPR-u, se bo malo spremenili v glavi ljudi, ampak večina small businessa bo to še vedno ignorirala. Tak je moj občutek klientov, kako se pogovarjam z uporabniki, pa s tem, da se bo to kar konkretno ignoriralo večino priporočil, ker pač ne bo.
Actually, I agree very much with what you just said. I'm not an expert on regulation, and that's a topic that it fascinates me. But at the same time, I was thinking, my father is a very well-educated person, but he used to drive a Fiat 500 with no airbag and no seatbelts. And you know, at one point, you need regulation that imposes to producers to put. And that's why when you now go and buy a car, you look if it has 4, 3, or 5 stars of NCAP, or it's a very safe car, or if it's a Chinese car. But, you know, it's an interesting balance here to strike here. But I think we left together, and what I heard is that the European Commission is actually, there is a, I think it's called IoT coalition, where they are trying to get a form of self-adoption regulation, where you have best practices and standards that come from the bottom up, which I think is an interesting approach. On the GDPR case and on how privacy and data protection are actually defining very much this era of the internet evolution, I totally agree. Actually, I'm thinking that what we saw 20, 25 years ago happening with the whole climate change, and suddenly we started seeing sustainable development becoming a major topic, when you start seeing campaigns on fighting against greenhouse gases, and then you get logos of, you know, biological products and organic. I think we are seeing something like that with personal data and privacy. And it is becoming a topic that for those that have been doing internet discussion and internet governance, we've been speaking about those things for long, but it felt like we were alone with that.
Yeah.
And now, early this morning, we heard about the Snowden revelation, and I think even there, we weren't in the same stage. I was reading that after the Snowden revelation, many people started using less of Facebook, now dropping out of Facebook, but not that much. You know, they went back right after, and maybe the new generation will have a different approach on that, but definitely the regulation that is coming from the European Union, the GDPR, will give a substantial push on the global awareness, because it really goes across the scope. It doesn't go only for the big internet service providers, but it also touches upon the public administration, it touches upon the small and medium enterprises, touches upon every one of us that has a blog and host and does blog information about his friends, and it's a public blog. We are seeing how the internet touches on all aspects of our lives, but yet we are not having the respect and enforcement of principles that we have in our real life on the cyberspace, even if it's becoming even hard to define what is a cyberspace when you are a mobile phone which is 24/7 connected anyway. But we are getting there. Now, the impact that we'll have, we can spend some time on what we see the impact on ICANN, for instance, is still to be seen, and to what extent. But definitely it's a shift, and we will see more of that coming. We heard this morning also in the previous panels mentions about what Germany is doing, so national regulations. And I think there is even a race across different countries across the globe to see who can protect more of that, and then you see a fight from the businesses on how do they have to react on that, and probably one day we will see a fight among the businesses because it's a new market. I say, okay, I can give you this service, and I guarantee this service is secure. You have the own availability of your data as well to your disposal, so we're not going to sell your data to do money out of that. Hopefully we'll see this just, please.
Yeah, on one side we have Europe, and on the other side we have the United States. We are protecting our data, but the United States is selling them all over the place. We will see who will win. What will be the most profitable model, or the model who's going to survive? I believe the EU has it's a better one, but at the end the money will talk.
Mogoče še poslušajmo perspektivo, kako na GDPR, ki je dejansko produkt EU, gledajo izven EU, moče Lida, kakšno mnenje?
Coming from the really complicated country, I don't know that they are even aware of this regulation, because there was only one event done by Microsoft, and it had only one like. The post had only one like. So I'm not sure how it's going to work in Bosnia, but definitely something that at least civil society organizations will have to do to raise awareness about this, because it's about the users, it's about taking back control to users. Again, I will reiterate this, I don't know how many times. At the first panel we were listening a lot about education. People need to know their right. People need to know what they are assigned. Nobody read terms of agreement of the Facebook, Instagram, or whatever. And even if they tried, they didn't understand because of that legal language. I tried to read it, and after the first paragraph, I forgot what I was reading. So, and you have 13-year-old students that are on the Facebook, on Instagram, they don't read, but yet they have rights. And who is going to teach them about their rights? Maybe their parents? I don't think so, because usually children know more than their parents. Usually parents say, I send them to school, so school will deal with that. And then school say, no, they're only here for 5 hours, you are supposed to deal with that. So it's a vicious circle, nobody knows who is responsible for education of those kids. And then we all think that when we grow up, we know much more wrong. With so many trainings and participants that we had, sadly, teenage children knew more about the security and privacy than the adults. So I believe my country will be affected, and I think civil society will need to point that out. Guys, you need to collect yourself and start dealing, because you will collect the information from the citizens of the European Union, and now how you are going to deal with that.
Yeah, I can tell you that in Romania people are starting to speak about GDPR, but it's also a good market. There are already consultancy agencies that offer courses in GDPR. There are already specialists in GDPR that can be hired. So there is already a pool of data protection officers that will be compulsory depending on the size of the company and so on. So it's a good market. We don't know many things about GDPR. I'm not a specialist in regulation either, but I know that it will be, as usual, more difficult for small and medium companies to deal with that. It will be very easy for big companies who have a budget already allocated to GDPR, to courses, to training, to write long terms and conditions, because the terms and conditions now will be even longer, and so on. But everybody will be affected, yes, even a small blogger from a small country in the EU, even an NGO, everybody who will be collecting private data. And coming back a little to the previous issue, you said, I didn't write it down, but you said that sometimes we offer too much personal data when we want to use a service or a gadget. Because, for example, does the camera really need to know, well, yeah, from a certain point of view, the camera needs to know where I am so that it can tag my location, upload it automatically on Facebook, on Google Photos and so on. But there are small applications that already need to know about me, anything, just offer me a small thing like, I don't know, an alarm. For example, do you need, does the alarm needs to know where you are? Yeah, you will say yes, because it will change to the time zone where you are. So your usual alarm at 7 o'clock will update to the 7 o'clock of the other location. And I think it's time for another example from another campaign that the association did last year. It's a series of 10 videos, and Valida likes them and uses them. They are in Romanian and English, but translated with hard subtitles, let's say. I mean, they are adapted. You'll see what I mean. It's not subtitles. All the content is translated into English. It's a series of animation. I think we can...
Če se mogoče strinjate, glede to, da nam bo po mojem hitro časa zmanjkalo, če se strinjaš, da bi pogledali te videe, oziroma bomo jih dali v poročilo, pa bomo potem na koncu pogledali te video vsebine. Ena stvar imam še v mislih, namreč nekako sem dobil občutek, da zasebniki, oziroma da ljudje posamezniki ne jemljamo naše zasebnosti tako dragocene, kot je dejansko dragocena. Se ne zavedamo te dragocenosti, ki jo imamo z varovanjem naše zasebnosti. Pa me zanima, Domen, kako pogosto, recimo, z strani nekega posameznika, oziroma na drugi strani podjetij, pri vašem podjetju dobivate recimo neke zahteve, neka vprašanja po razkritju določene IP številke oziroma po razkritju nekega servisa, recimo, da se mi nekaj slabega zgodi, da pride do nekega problema. Se pogosto dogaja v vašem podjetju, dobivate kaj takih vprašanj? In še drugo, kako pogosto, tako čez palec, se obrne na vas država in želi imeti ustrezne informacije po razkritju posameznikovega IP-ja oziroma nekih IP številk določenih servisov?
Za posameznike imamo zelo malo zahtev, ker tudi ne smemo igrati. Za posameznike ne smemo dati popolnoma nič in tudi govorimo o tem primeru to. Strani države se pa kar pojavljajo, ampak se pojavlja doskrat tako, v bistvu phishing, ker pač mi gremo tako, da gre vse prek našega pravnika, ki pove da ali ne, ampak večino zvem, da je v bistvu država bolj tako pros, a bi mogoče dal, sej vem, da nimam čist razloga za to, ampak prosim. To je večino takih primerov je tako. Zelo malo dobimo, mogoče, da smo v 10-15 letih dobili 2 dejanski sodni odredbi, da moramo dati, večino je pa zaprosil.
Andreja, kako pa recimo pristopajo vlade oziroma države proti ICANN-u, ko želijo uveljavljati kakšne izjeme pri prometu, pri razkrivanju podatkov, pri čemerkoli, kar ni po utečenih pravilih, se pravi, na kak način recimo država pristopi k ICANN-u? Imaš mogoče kaj informacije s tem v zvezi?
Always the easy question, thank you. So there are two sides in that. There are, on one aspect I would like to touch upon is the impact of GDPR on ICANN. And on that, I think it's a very interesting and even challenging discussion on how regulations coming from one country, in this case from a group of countries, can actually apply to a technology, let's call it a technology like the internet, that doesn't really understand and knows border. That's something that I think we have to look into that and we can see what is the ICANN role. The other one is the fact that since ICANN was created in 1998, but increasingly in the past years, we do receive regularly pressures, interest from governments, from law enforcement agencies, to give them access to particular information or give them access to or allow them to control or shut down sites. And that flags a very interesting part, is that often, not always, but often, governments, very important countries, they have little to no understanding of how the internet works and come to ICANN with the conviction that somehow we can have the control of kind of a kill switch and say, look, they come to us. I've actually assisted to meetings where ministers of very large countries would come to the boss of ICANN and say, look, this is a list of websites that promotes information against our constitution principles, and we want them to close them down. So you now go and close them down. When we tell them that we cannot, they are not happy. But this particular case is that then, how can I do that? This minister, I remember, he was quoting the fact that he wasn't happy with Twitter, and he wasn't happy with how some of his citizens were using Twitter. And so he asked us to close down the whole Twitter. I said, I don't think we can do that. And they said, well, but when I send my diplomatic envoys to the Twitter headquarters in California, they don't let them in. So if I cannot speak with them, then someone, I can speak with you, and someone has the control, you have to intervene. So there is this bit, it's not small actually, it's this general lack of understanding of how the internet works that brings governments with very legitimate requests and very legitimate interests to come to the wrong conclusion and think that they can do that. And that's something that we are trying to address, and there is a process in ICANN where, to go into the more complete case of the personal data, we are now, because there is not such a thing of the Security Council of the Internet, where governments get there and say, okay, this is something dangerous, we need to do something. There is no Iran deal on the Internet. There is no, how do we stop South Korea from throwing rockets on an internet space? So this is a whole entire new realm of cyber attacks, of use of personal data across a world that is completely borderless. So in our small environment in ICANN, we have this, we call it Public Safety Working Group. We like to have acronyms, so we call it PSWG, because otherwise it's not fancy. But basically, we gather in the same room the law enforcement agencies, national and global, so Interpol, Europol, Francepol. We gather the governments that they actually have some serious concerns on public safety. We gather the internet actors. So in the case of the internet ICANN world is the registering registrars. When you go and sign up because you want to have your own website, you have to go and sign a contract with a company that sells you the domain, that sells you the hosting, and this company has a contract with ICANN. So we are trying to create some practices where you can actually intervene and do something, but it's not one single actor. The funny, interesting thing of the internet is that you really need many people come together to have a small action. Now, the issue here is that the common understanding on what you can do, it gets lower and lower. So it's quite easy, even easy, it's a big word, to get common agreement on fighting child pornography online. And actually much of the work that this public safety working group is actually doing is that. But even in that, there is discussion, how do you find children, or what age do you find the children? So even that's complicated, but it is a way, because the other way that we are seeing is the classic way of the stronger prevails. And sometimes when the stronger prevails and the younger, smaller people, they come to the one that maybe can do something, they think, I can do something. But unfortunately, it's not that by design. So the other point that I wanted to make is the impact on GDPR. And that's something that even myself and within ICANN we are trying to understand what is the impact. Because what we are seeing now is that we have basically contracts with companies that sell domain names. So when you register, you want to have your own name, you go to registry. And when you sign up for your own website, you want your domain name, they ask you who you are, where do you live, and they ask you your credit card number. And this data is available online. It's called who.is. I don't know if many of you tried that, but if you want to buy a website, if if you're interested on who's behind a website, you go online and you just check who.is. Now, this is a very interesting database because it's a distributed database, meaning that all the different parts of the domain name space have a bit of information. And the access to this information is also very distributed. So suddenly now we have a regulation that sets up very specific requirements for who, how, and when someone can access data. And that applies to the 28 countries in the European Union, maybe 27 in 2 years, but now 28, plus it applies also to any European citizen that is actually using a service on the internet, which is either based in Europe or not. So you have an impact, and it goes well beyond the borders of the 27, 28 countries, and it goes into one of the core parts of the internet agency system. So we are now trying to figure out what is the impact on that. The fear that we have is that the idea at the base, and as a European, I'm completely supportive of that. The implementation goes along the same line that I was telling before, that there is not a complete understanding of how the internet works. And so, when you combine these two things, you actually risk that you fragment the internet that we are seeing today. Because then, just to make a complete case, you will have ICANN that has around 190 different jurisdictions to deal with and contracts with those, and has to change all those contracts to comply with the regulation of 28 countries. Now, so you can do the math, 190 minus 28, so all the rest of the countries, they will come to us and say, hey, wait a minute, I also want to have this privacy and data protection regulation, and you also have to apply it to all your contracts. And maybe this country doesn't come from the same human rights-based point of view of the European Charter of Human Rights, but comes from the point of view that you need to control what your citizens say because you fear that the criticism can be dangerous for your own safety, your own government. Well, we have no jurisdiction in saying, look, we don't like your way of doing your legislation, so we won't implement it, but we like the one the Europeans are doing. That's something that we cannot do that. We have not decided to do that, and it's very hard goal to do that. So that's the situation where we are now. And we are seeing this thing coming. Well, it's 25th of May 2019. We are not clear yet of the impact that we have on the whole ecosystem because it's very difficult to have it. But we are seeing the risks of pushing something that has a very limited border and defined component on the internet. I mean, one of the things that makes me really laugh when I'm in Brussels is all the digital single market package and rhetorics about that. And to me, it's a contradiction in terms. You are looking at the internet and you're calling it the digital single market. Very single and internet, digital market, those things already exist. There's the internet, the digital single market. I can go and buy stuff on Amazon from Alibaba. So we have these challenges of being able to foresee and to produce policies that really understands how the internet works. And if we don't close this gap, we risk big times. And I think we will see the same in the previous discussion we had with Internet of Things and we had with regulation and we had with standards. We go down to the same problem or issue here, or challenge, let's say, of having to deal with a technology that really has nothing to do a resemblance with any other technology for communication that we did so far. But we produce and push legislation on that as if this internet was, you know, the old school copper telephone line or the railway network. And, you know, and it stops here. That's my railway network, that's Slovenia, and then there is, you know, that's it. So that's a few considerations to make things even easier.
Yeah, but coming from a small country like Slovenia, we have a lot of issues that a lot of services are not available to us. So for us, the single digital market directive, it's a good thing. Let's say we don't get Spotify. We don't have it. Most of the people that live abroad have it. We don't, because we're a too small market. That's, as EU goes, this is for as small nations, it's a good thing. For you, as an Italian, as a huge nation, it doesn't bother you, because you have everything, because it makes sense. As I said before, money talks. It's a lot of money to be made in Italy, in Slovenia, those small numbers are not important.
Še en vidik bi izpostavil, namreč kot država želi regulirati posamezno področje. Predvsem se zatakne takrat, ko želi država spremeniti kakšne zakonodaje, ki se nanaša na represijo, se pravi razni policijski zakoni, kazensko, procesno zakonodajo in tako naprej. Me zanima vaše mnenje, ker običajno v tistih trenutkih da država si želi malo više represije, oziroma više stopnje represije. Na drugi strani imamo pa nas, gospodarstvo, civilno družbo, ostale deležnike v tem procesu. Kako se odzvati, ko začutimo te apetite države, da želijo recimo dostopati do nekih podatkov, do katerih pravzaprav mi že kot državljani čutimo, da ne bi smeli dostopiti. Recimo, tak predlog je bil pred 2-3 leti, ko so želeli pobirati v primeru storitev nekega kaznivega dejanja celoten promet na določeni anteni mobilnega operaterja, ki se pač v okolici tistega kaznivega dejanja. To bi bila resen vdor v zasebnost posameznikov. Torej, kako naj se odzovejo posamezniki, kako naj se odzovejo nevladne organizacije, kako se odzovejo gospodarstvo na take, če lahko rečem, manipulacije oziroma take poskuse vdora v zasebnost z namenom upravičevanja varnosti, zagotavljanja reda, zakonitosti in tako naprej.
Če boš vprašal povprečnega državljana oziroma povprečnega človeka, bo rekel, to mene ne zanima. To je v bistvu root of all evil. This does not concern me. To je to, se zaključi, dokler ne bo njega zadeva, takrat pa začel cviti. Ampak na državi oziroma na vseh nas je, da izobrazimo ljudi v tem, da mogoče tokrat ne zadeva tebe, ampak enkrat pa bo. Mogoče tokrat nisi ti primer, ampak je tvoj sosed, naslednji celo ti. Sam kako to ljudem dopovedati, da vse to njih zadeva, čeprav je trenutno ne, pa da nismo mi samo neki IT-ovci, ki govorimo o temu, pa drobno pa ne ve, kaj počnemo, ampak da mogoče tebe zadeva, to pa ne vem. Država oziroma tudi večja podjetja, globalna, bojo imela vedno to tendenco, da imeti čim več. Kako zdaj ustaviti to, je vprašanje. Ne vem, če ima kdo sploh odgovor na to. Kot je rekel Andreja, GDPR je prišel, vsi razlagajo o njemu, kot je rekel kolega, imajo že ogromno svetovalcev, noben pa ne ve, kako reči, pa kaj narediti. Mislim, da trenutno ni v Evropski uniji človeka, ki ve točno, kaj bo naredil in kako se skupaj rešiti, ampak bo to zadnji trenutki pred dnevom nekako šraufanje skupaj.
Se nam bo zgodilo.
Ja.
Malo vprašanje z občinstva.
Bolj komentar. Kako to preprečiti? Najbrž se vsi spomnimo, kako je policija hotela uzakoniti to, da bi inštalirali razne tiste worme oziroma te špijonske programe, ki bi nekim ljudem, ki so osumljeni nekega kaznivega dejanja pred enkripcijo pobirali prometne in s tem so ogrozili kompletno njihovo in še od kogarkoli drugega, zasebnost, da bi, jaz sem jih vprašal, kaj pa, ko bodo protivirusni programi to začeli zaznavati, ko se rekli, jak se bomo itak izjavljali antivirusne programe. Potem, kako smo se odprli kot community? Prišli smo skupaj, začeli smo se o tem pogovarjati, policiji, državi smo povedali, da je to nek zelo nesorazmeren ukrep, ki celo tehnično ne gre skozi, ker nimamo verified toolchaina, nimamo orodij, s katerimi bi sploh neke take špijonske zadeve na primernem nivoju naredili, da bi bile sploh veljavne. Začeli smo se o tem javno pogovarjati. Tako smo se odprli. Naslednji primer je bil, ko so hoteli na ne vem kjerem ministrstvu že zaračunati davek na internet. Kako smo se odprli? Kot community. Recimo v Sinogu, v tehnični skupnosti, smo odprli razpravo na mailing listi, smo sestavili skupaj nek, kako bi rekel, pozicijo, jo podpisali, 130 link, kjer je 130 članov Sinoga, jo poslali na ministrstvo, jo poslali na medije, tudi drugi community so bili tukaj zelo udeleženi, pa Dušan, pa tako naprej. Ampak, in smo dobili nazaj dopis od ministrstva, da hvala za vse informacije, po skrbnem pregledu in razmisliku bomo davek na internet črtali iz predloga zakona oziroma iz strategije, karkoli je že bila. Spet, kako smo se temu uprli? Kot skupnost. In glih zaradi tega je pomembno, da imamo tehnično skupnost, da imamo IGF skupnost in da imamo tudi vse ostale skupnosti, ki se ukvarjajo z različnimi področji interneta. In pomembno je, da smo povezani med sabo. Ne vsak zase v svojem kurenku, pa na svojem vrtičku. In da se pogovarjamo. In to sem hotel.
Hvala.
It's linked to this. For example, today I was expecting that a lot of people would mention the copyright reform that will affect us all. Because, yes, it's absurd. Maybe it's because the legislator doesn't know how the internet works. Because maybe we will have a link tax, so every time we will make a link, we will have to pay a tax to that company. Every time we will upload content online, the content will have to be scanned automatically and removed if it violates if it's a copyright infringement, and that's censorship, that's dictatorship. So it affects us all. It may be because the legislator doesn't understand how the internet works, or it may have an economic agenda behind. And Andrea said, mentioned both causes. What can the civil society do? Yes, educate the people, but then the people should react. So those actions should go hand in hand. For example, the copyright reform is knocking on our doors. There are still some votes to be done in some commissions in the parliament, but who knows, maybe next year, starting in spring, we'll have to pay for our small personal blog, we'll have to pay every time we make a link to a news article. And this is how you don't create a digital single market. You create something else, and I named it. It's called censorship.
I would like to go back to what Jan said. And you gave me hope. We talked about that last night. In Bosnia, we failed to find the law that was ridiculous. Basically, one part of the country decided to impose the law where Facebook is a public space. Therefore, you cannot organize a protest on Facebook. If you do it, it's against the law. And nobody made a comment about that. Nobody did anything. Media was pretty silent. General public was not interested. I don't know why, because the Facebook is their life. So, and still I believe that there is possibility if we gather strong technical community, civil society, media, academia together and to fight these ridiculous laws that will happen in the future, because in my country we want to be a part of European Union, and very often we signed a lot of rubbish just to get there. So if we have a strong community within the country, maybe we will be able to fight censorship and dictatorship.
Hvala. Še en vidik izpostavljam, namreč, ko uporabljam internet, zdaj v tej skupnosti, kjer smo mi udeleženi, vsi lahko bolj ali manj normalno uporabljamo internet, nimamo nekih preprek. Ko pa se srečujemo z raznimi ranljivimi oziroma manj izobraženimi posamezniki, recimo, ko otroci uporabljajo internet, se vemo, da ga uporabljajo od najmlajših, od rosnih starosti naprej. Nadalje, ko govorimo o problematiki vpliva oziroma zlorabe, predvsem žensk, sovražnem govoru, zaničevanju, nadalje o LGTB skupnosti. To so neke ranljive skupine, marginalne skupine, ki dejansko niso toliko zavarovane in jih je potrebno malo bolj zaščititi. Me zanima vaš vidik, na kak način pomagati tem skupinam, eno je seveda izobraževanje ali še mogoče kaj drugega, mogoče kakšna praksa, ki jo vi uporabljate v Bosni.
As I mentioned, we are organizations that's fighting online violence against women and girls, and we start educating them since the age of 13. We are part of the IT Girls initiative started by UN agencies. And what's striking us is that very often they are not aware that they are in danger. They are not aware that they are facing online violence, online harassment, because it's normal, it's law, it's okay in that age to behave like that. So after our trainings, half of them accept that they have been victims of online violence. And very often when we confront them with the YouTube videos that created a lot of stir in our community, in our country, a lot of them just laughed at it. And many of those girls in the video tried to commit suicide a couple of times. And still those girls were laughing. They just don't understand that's not acceptable. And another issue is, okay, I will go give them a training, and what then? They are left alone. Will they adopt what I said? Will they use the tools that I gave them? Will they change their behavior? I don't know. So we need to change the approach when we educate them. It's not okay and enough just to have one lesson during the year. We have to go there all over again and to see if that's working. And it's not always with the children. In my country, at least they are protected with the law against the child pornography. But at the moment they are 18, we don't have a law that protects any other person from online violence. Okay, we have cyber law, but again, that's like money fraud and money theft and credit card theft. But when you are facing life threats, when you are a journalist who are facing life threats all over again, there is no law that will protect you. So you are on your own. So who can help them? Yes, we can prevent in a way. We can give them tools. We can teach them how to change behavior. But very often when we talk about female journalists, they self-censorship them. They change their behavior. They stop using their profiles. They stop writing. They have to leave the country. We have so many recent cases in Bosnia that people had to leave the country because they were not able to cope with online violence and harassment. So this is a very emerging issue. And right now, I don't know final answer how to deal with that. But at the moment when I find the answer, luckily the violence will stop and I will be out of job.
Thank you. Moče, glede to, da imamo še nekje 5 minut, če je kakršnokoli vprašanje, se z veseljem odzovemo. Sicer pa, moče za konec še kratka ideja vseh vas. Po vašem mnenju, katera izmed tehnologij bo recimo v prihodnjih 5 letih, po vašem mnenju, in da se bo ta tehnologija napajala iz nekih osebnih podatkov, se pravi na osnovi nekih zasebnosti, katera tehnologija bo najbolj bistveno krojila uporabo interneta oziroma dejansko vsakdanje življenje. Če mogoče tako malo, to, da govorimo o prihodnosti v internetu oziroma kako bo to varnost in zasebnost sobivala v prihodnjem internetu, se pravi, katera storitev, katera tehnologija bo po vašem mnenju bistveno vplivala na naše življenje tam recimo čez 5-10 let in se bo seveda napajala ravno iz tega bazena osebnih podatkov, ki jih tako veselo polnimo v te silose podatkovnih baz oziroma bank podatkov. Se upate začeti?
I think it will be audio search because we already stopped reading, so we don't use our eyes to read books, but to look at text, look at images. We stopped using one hand, and depends on which hand. We only use one hand and one thumb. And now we will start to use only our voice. And it's already starting, in fact. As you see, there are a lot of gadgets that are based on voice, and you can do search, shopping, anything you want, using only your voice.
I have to say, I'm freaking out. Really. Probably with the blink of an eye, you will know everything about me, so I'm pretty scared.
So kind of same special glasses that I will be wearing.
In China, you can already pay with a smile.
No, thank you.
Yeah, if you ask me, it's probably going to be some sort of live automation. You will not need to think about anything. It's going to be done for you. Artificial intelligence is going to cook the lunch for you. It's going to know what you want to eat. It's going to know when you need to go to the toilet. That's what I'm afraid of. Yeah, that my mind is not going to be so important, but my computer will decide what I need to do. That's a little bit Orwellian, but I think that this is the way we are going to it.
You know, I think it goes in the same line. I think what we are seeing with artificial intelligence is something that will really change our experience on the internet. I was thinking, not just to connect two things, two experiences. Around 2005, 2006, Facebook started becoming very popular. And I have a younger brother who is exactly 10 years younger than me. And I'm not on Facebook. I was never on Facebook. And so one day he asked me, why you're not on Facebook? And I said, I don't think I need it. And he answered to me, well, how do you meet girls? I said, well, I think I go old school. I think I go out and clubs. And then, just a few months ago, I read a very interesting long article on the New Yorker about these chatbots. And basically, these are artificial intelligence machines. And there is plenty of young Chinese. There is a shortage of girls, apparently, in China, for several reasons. And so they are in their late teens, early 20s, and they spend hours chatting about love, about life, with a bot, with a machine. And this article was fascinating because it will tell you these are people that they spend hours, they invest money on that, you know. And then I was linking that with what my brother was telling me 10 years ago, more or less. So that's something really scares me, is that we are not seeing how much we are getting into a future that a few years ago was probably only science fiction almost, but it's actually happening, and it's happening in real time. And the interesting thing is that many of the creators of these new technologies, Elon Musk, for instance, the guy that is now almost everywhere, from space rockets to self-driving cars, he said himself, I'm very scared of artificial intelligence, very scared of that we are not even able to see how much this will impact our lives. And there was another article on The Guardian just a few days ago of people that they joined Silicon Valley startups in the early 20s, now they're 30, 35, and they regret what they invented. It's kind of a rootist approach almost. They said, well, we went too far. We opened up too much, we gave too much of our information, we took too much of our faith into this technology. And now they just, they step back, and I mean, many of them, they step back after they earn millions, so it's easier to step back in this case. But this is something that I think we are not yet seeing. And what we see so far, and that's kind of clear, but still not for everybody, is that the gap between how much we can even understand, and then from understand try to regulate or discern what is good, is bad, is getting bigger and bigger. You know, so it's interesting. Frederick, you mentioned this morning, one of the principles of the internet from the founding fathers is this permissionless innovation. But we are seeing that it's getting, way farther than what the founding fathers of the internet thought was, because at the beginning for them was having a machine talk with another machine, and everyone who wants can join that. Well, we came 25 years after, and we go in an environment where the permissionless innovation really goes into all aspects of our personal lives. You see now the old fancy thing is called biohacking, and how you can install chips in your body, how can you basically apply the same principles that you apply to hacking a software to how your organism works. And you have people, again, from Silicon Valley, because that's where they look, and they like to experiment. They feed themselves with hundreds of pills per day, and they're convinced they can live until 140 years. And they're ready, there is this gap on what's happening right now. I mean, one of the common phrases that the future is here, but it's not evenly distributed. Well, I think it's now even more poignant and present now. So this is something that, in a way, it fascinates me, it scares me, and sometimes it makes me think back. And it was very good when I used to go out, even without a mobile phone, and bump into a friend, and then randomly do something, or someone would come to my house and ring at the doorbell, and my mom would answer and say, no, he cannot come play because he has to do homework. These things are not happening anymore. We are losing that. It's fine, it's okay, but there are some consequences on that, and we are not yet having this discussion broadly enough. And one of the spaces that we have to have this discussion is exactly this kind of forum, this internet governance forum, these places where you put together different parts of the society, but we want to see them scale up. I mean, I would like to see a discussion like this happening at a stadium level kind of thing, but we still go to the stadium to see soccer matches or rock stars, but not yet to have these discussions. So to close with very high hopes, I think the shift we have to do here is really on the governance side. And we still think that we are users of the internet, and it's fine to be users, and sometimes users becomes customer, but the internet actually enables you to be way more than user and customer. It enables you to be driver, and the technology allows you to do that. We are not taking that yet, and I don't know why, because we are collectively too lazy, we are collectively too taken by our daily lives, and we don't see that far, but we do have an opportunity here to change even the way we govern ourselves thanks to the internet. We are not seeing that. We go back into the same issues of, well, we need policies, we need regulation, we need GDPR, and then we see that these things, well, they run short even more and more. I conclude here, otherwise I can go till tomorrow. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Oh.
Yeah, just a comment. So thank you, Andrea. I believe the principles that you just talked about a few seconds, like permissionless innovation, are here to stay. It's just linked to the openness of the internet. So we have a good news. The internet is open, it means it's open to everybody. We have a bad news. The internet is open, it means it's open to everybody, including the bad guys. So it means that when we talk security, we should not forget another principle, and that is the internet is user-centric, which means that we need to offer users a known way to protect themselves. So this is one of the reasons why we keep repeating in the internet society that we need to promote encryption. That's another way to organize safety for people, and I prefer that someone else, like the government, would come up in the room and say, be safe, I take care of your security. I mean, that's a nightmare, you know? I mean, someone coming in the room and I take care of your security. So yes, you're right, there is a shift in the way we need to address internet issues with always those elements which we call the DNA of the internet, the environments in mind. We need to find solutions in a systemic way. And this is why what you said again is right. The only way to find this is to avoid that there is someone suddenly saying, I got a central way to address this. And this is why we need to have those different people in the room coming up with different angles, the technical community, but also the academic civil society. Thank you.
Thank you. I think those two comments were really perfect for our conclusion of our session. Let's give a long applause. Thank you very much. I'll shift to Slovenian. Sedaj vas pa vabim sicer vse tri poročevalce, mene, Petra in Marka. Bomo naredili še kratek povzetek od 16:30 do 17, ne od 15:30 do 16 ure, se pravi bomo imeli poročanje iz vseh treh posameznih sekcij. Temu pa potem sledi še tisti tak bolj družabni del našega današnjega srečanja. Tako da vabim kar na oder Petra in Marka in sebe, da naredimo kratko poročilo. Vam pa najlepša hvala. Thank you very much. Nekoliko postajamo z desetkanje, ampak mislim, da bomo to hitro zaključili. Bomo kar začeli z kratkim poročilom naše prve sekcije, ki je nosila naslov Odprt internet, neutralni internet. Bo Peter.
Jaz sem nič... Odprte tehnologije in... Ja. Prva sekcija je obravnavala odprte tehnologije oziroma in odprt internet. razpravljavci so v glavnem razpravljali nekako o štirih vidikih tega, o potrebnosti odprtega in vključujočega interneta, ki je nek pogoj za tehnološki in gospodarski napredek, o potrebnem znanju, o tem, da brez znanja ne bomo imeli več odprte tehnološke platforme ali pa vseh dostopa do ne. Predvsem so govorili o regulaciji, razpravljali so o tem, ali je regulacija potrebna, a regulacija ne bo nekako zavrla odprtosti interneta. Po drugi strani pa tudi izpostavili to, da brez regulacije pa tudi ni mogoče imeti odprtega interneta in pa tudi na koncu smo razpravljali o varnosti, o zagotavljanju varnosti z namenom, da se ohrani dostop do odprte in vključujoče tehnologije. Na koncu prve sekcije smo o teh temah prebrali izjave, ki so jih udeleženci tudi sprejeli.
Druga sekcija je nosila naslov, kje je meja svobode izražanja in kje lahko poseže država v to svobodo. Pomenljivo je bilo začetek, ki ga je začela varuhinja človekovih pravic, ko je izvajala svoj prvi govor, je rekla, da svoboda govora je potrebna, ampak ima svoje omejitve. Mi je bilo všeč, da je na prvo mesto postavila, da je svoboda govora, da je potrebna. To mi je bilo zelo všeč, prvo sporočilo. No, potem pa so v nadaljevanju panelisti izpostavili predvsem to definicijo sovražnega govora, oziroma poskušali postaviti definicijo sovražnega govora, kjer gre za specifičen govor, ki je usmerjen v neko skupino in da so pravzaprav zaradi omejitve neke pravice svobode govora so dopustni predvsem zaradi varstva drugih. Se pravi, ko govorimo o omejitvi svobode govora, jaz zgolj in zaradi tega, ker gre za varovanje nekih drugih pravic, za varovanje katerih pravic pa gre, to so predvsem varstvo dostojanstva, proti diskriminaciji in druge podobne prvine tega sovražnega govora. Zanimivo je bilo, da so panelisti izpostavili, da je pravzaprav po prijavah, vsaj sodeč po spletni točki, oziroma po spletnem očesu, točki za anonimno prijavo sovražnega govora, da je pravzaprav po prijavah sovražnega govora manj, ampak da se pojavlja veliko bolj radikalne oblike tega sovražnega govora. Varuhinja je med drugim opozorila tudi, da ta problem, ko se v plazu nekih komentarjev tu in tam pojavlja kak pozitivni in pravzaprav čisto izbledi zaradi tako velikega obsega tega negativnega oziroma sovražnega govora, ki se pojavlja predvsem v raznih oblikah komentarja. Kokoškova je izpostavila to spremembo znotraj kazenske zakonodaje v letu 2011, kjer bi po prejšnji zakonodaji marsikatero današnje dejanje bilo obsojeno po kazenski zakonodaji, danes pa več ne, zaradi tega, ker so spremenili in v ali oziroma ali v in zaradi tega se tukaj pojavlja en problem in dejansko se nekako izoblikovala ideja, da država kot da izstopa iz te igre oziroma iz te vloge nadzorovati, kaj je to sovražni govor, kaj ni sovražni govor. In dejansko strpni do nestrpnosti ne moremo biti. In na tem mestu se je potem izpostavila ta vidik samoregulacije, ki pa pravzaprav pomeni neke vrste privatizacijo uveljavljanja dobesedno nekih ustavnih oziroma nekih človekovih pravic in neke zakonodaje, ki jo je pravzaprav zakonodajalec oziroma neka država predpisala. Se pravi, samo regulacija strani nekih ponudnikov medijev, ponudnikov nekih storitev informacijske družbe. In ravno skozi izvajanje ene izmed udeleženj, ko se vprašanje lažnih novic pričenja izpostavljati pri teh ponudnikih in posredno lahko pričakujemo, da se bo tudi sovražni govor mogoče kaj podobnega začelo razvijati. In mogoče za konec še edino to, da so bile izpostavljene recimo razni mehanizmi, en izmed mehanizmov boja proti sovražnemu govoru, recimo kontranaracija, Kogovška je pa v koncu še recimo omenila, če se država vse bolj umika, lahko prihaja do nevarnih pojavov, ker namreč udeleženci v tem internetnem prostoru nimajo več, kako da rečem, zgleda oziroma neke palice, kaj se lahko zgodi, ko se pojavi sovražni govor. Mogoče z tega vidika.
Tretja sekcija je imela naslov sobivanje zasebnosti in varnosti v prihodnem internetu. Zdaj, sama debata je tekla skozi nekaj različnih področij. Sicer najprej smo govorili o internetu stvari, sledil je področje varovanja zasebnosti na internetu in pa General Data Protection Regulation, oziroma GDPR. Nadaljevali smo nekako zaščito pred pretiranimi zahtevami države po regulaciji in dostopu do osebnih podatkov. In potem smo še zelo na hitro pogledali, kaj so tiste prihodne tehnologije, ki bodo najbolj vplivale na naše življenje. Čez celotno debato se je vlekla ena misel, oziroma izstopila ena misel in sicer izobraževanje o zaveščanju. Zakratka, da je treba uporabnike interneta in vseh teh sodobnih tehnologij zelo dobro ozaveščati. Namreč danes imamo pravzaprav vsi doma naprave, pametne naprave, recimo vsak, da ima mobilni telefon, imamo pametne ključavnice, pametne hiše se pojavljajo in podobno. In vse te naprave se povezujejo v internetu, oziroma večji del se jih povezuje. Pri tem pa prihaja do ene zelo pomembne težave in sicer zaščite teh naprav oziroma varnosti, ki je vgrajena v te naprave. In izpostavljen je bil en primer, ko recimo vdor v kamere nekih igarač je sprožil napad DDoS, se pravi Distributed Denial of Service. Glaven problem pri tem je to, da se proizvajalci teh pametnih naprav ne zavedajo oziroma ne razmišljajo o vključevanju varnostnih elementov oziroma na to pozabljajo. Drug vidik je pa vidik uporabnikov, ki se ne zavedajo tveganj, s katerimi se srečujejo na internetu in pa pri uporabi teh naprav. In se ne seznanijo, kako te naprave delujejo. Ta vidik seznanjanja z napravami, z njihovim delovanjem nas lahko pripelje tudi do tega, da razumemo, kakšne so tveganja in na kaj moramo paziti. Sama regulacija teh naprav z vidika države, oziroma delovanja teh naprav z vidika države ni toliko potrebna na ravni posamezne naprave, kot na ravni celotnega ekosistema, se pravi vseh storitev, ki so s to napravo povezani in pa proizvajalcev, tudi gre za hranjenje podatkov, za samo delovanje in tako naprej. In, ker smo veliko govorili o izobraževanju, spostavljeno je bilo, da enkratno izobraževanje ni dovolj, ampak da mora se izobraževanje stalno ponavljati. Tudi nove tehnologije se uvajajo. To je bilo predvsem o tako imenovanem internetu stvari. No, v naslednjem koraku, v naslednjem delu smo se pogovarjali o varovanju zasebnosti na internetu in o GDPR. Tu je bila izpostavljena ena misel, da samo uvajanje GDPR bo verjetno bilo ignorirano strani uporabnikov. Seveda uporabniki temu ne bodo posvečali prav velike pozornosti. Je pa verjetno, da bo sama uvedba GDPR v EU ugodno vplivala na zavedanje, na globalno zavedanje, na globalni ravni, namreč ta uredba bo segla preko meja Evropske unije in bo globalno vplivala na zavedanje glede varovanja samih podatkov. Ker se posamezniki ne zavedajo pomena zasebnosti je bila izpostavljena misel, da ljudje morajo poznati svoje pravice, svoje, kakšne so njihove pravice glede zasebnosti in tudi varnosti na internetu. Potem je bilo še nekaj malega povedano o zaščiti pred pretiranimi zahtevami države po regulaciji in dostopu do osebnih podatkov. Zdaj, tukaj je bila glavna vprašanje bilo, kako se zaščititi pred pretiranimi apetiti države. Se pravi, da država ne bi pretirano dirala recimo našo zasebnost. Zdaj, tu je bila izpostavljena misel, da državljani se ne zanimajo za te zadeve, se ne zanimajo za varovanje osebnih podatkov, dokler se to ne začne tikati osebno njih, se pravi vsakega posameznika. Zdaj, kako se lahko, bom rekel, nekako postavimo nasproti države, iz publike je prišla ena zelo zanimiva misel, oziroma en zelo zanimiv predlog, da se je treba o teh zadevah, ki jih država želi uvajati, pogovarjati, se organizirati in potem komunicirati nazaj z državo, preko sredstev javnega obveščanja, z javnimi pogovori, različnimi dogodki in podobno. No, zadevo smo pa zaključili z enim takim futurističnim vprašanjem, katera izmed tehnologij, ki temelji na osebnih podatkih, bo v prihodnjih letih najbolj bistveno krojila naša vsakdanja življenja. In tu sta bile dve tehnologiji izpostavljeni. Ena je bila, se pravi, umetna inteligenca, druga pa je bilo te naprave z audio prepoznavanjem in potem, ne vem, audio iskanje po internetu in tako dalje. In s tem smo zaključili.
Dušan?
Izvolite.
Jaz se vsem zahvaljujem za udeležbo, za odlične razprave, tudi dobre panele. Potrudili smo se, da bi sprožili čim več dobrih razprav, šli do čim več dobrih zaključkov. Te zaključke bomo predstavili v poročilu in nekatere posredovali tudi mednarodnemu, oziroma pač vse, odvisno od sklopa, ki bo tam predstavljen, mednarodnemu forumu o upravljanju interneta, ki bo decembra v Ženevi. Delo bomo nadaljevali prihodnje leto, to je nekako letno srečanje, ta slovenski internetni forum, oziroma forum o upravljanju interneta. Tisto, kar je pa zdaj pomembno, naslednji korak, tukaj pa jih povemo Solino, da predstavimo naše, pa mogoče predem Andrejo, da predstavimo naslednje korake. Ne, lahko se vse.
Can I have just a roving mic? Thank you, Dushan. I missed the last part of what you said, so I'm not so sure what I'm supposed to do.
Yes. We are now supposed to describe the next steps.
Okay, thank you.
From SloIGF to Sledi.
Thanks, Dushan.
So the floor is yours.
First, hello everyone, I'm Solina Delanu. I work with Diplo Foundation, but I'm now speaking on behalf of Sledi, which is the Southeastern European Dialogue on Internet Governance. Before I do what Dushan asked me to do, let me ask you a question. How many of you know what Sledi is or have heard about it before this meeting? 1, 2, 3. Okay. Yeah, not you. So maybe I should start with a brief intro about Sledi, right?
Yes.
I'll try to be as brief as possible, and meanwhile, I have a slide showing some numbers, if someone can boost those up. Yeah, can you go over this? There's a single presentation there, and one slide. So Sledi, Southeastern European Dialogue on Internet Governance, is an IGF initiative for what we call Southeastern Europe and the neighboring area. Now, don't ask me which are the countries, because I don't have a list of countries. It is a flexible concept, as Jan says, so whoever feels part of this extended region, they are welcome to join. We had 3 meetings. Our first meeting was in 2015. Our third meeting was this year in Macedonia in May. And now, right now, at your Slovenian IGF, we are starting planning the next meeting, which will be held, and thank you for this, in Slovenia next year, probably in May. So the 4th annual meeting of Sledi will be held here. And what does it mean? It means that the regional community, the internet community, will come together and discuss about issues that are important for them as a regional community. So things that you have discussed here might be of interest for the broader community, or they might have some other issues as well. Now, we can show only this, and I'll talk a bit about what it means. So this is SIDIG in numbers. We have used this as our meeting earlier this year, and we think this shows better what SIDIG is and how it has grown over the past 3 years. I have told you already that we had 3 annual meetings, but SIDIG is a bit more than just an annual meeting. So we don't just bring the community together once every year. We have what we call intersessional activities. And one of those intersessional activities is a thing you might have found in your tote bags. We call it the monthly summary of developments, internet-related developments in our region. So what we do, we have a team of editors, and every month they look around the region what happens in terms of internet governance, ICT-related policies, things like that, good and bad alike. And we publish them at the end of each month. We hope this helps strengthen the community, sharing good or bad practices and learning from each other, basically. So that's one part of our intersessional activities. And the second one is the Southeastern European Hub. You see it there with a 10 on it. Every month we also meet online and discuss these developments. It's a simple Adobe or WebEx meeting. People from around the region come together and discuss some of the developments which are in the summary, but also sharing a bit more of what's happening in their country. So we also meet in these monthly meetings. What else? The number of summaries we have published so far, it's 11. Everything is or should soon be available on our website, which is sidig.net. We had some, well, security issues, but it should be back alive soon and you can find everything there. We have a quite impressive number of supporting organizations. You see a 16 there. We have ICANN as one of our supporting organizations, the Internet Society, Frederic was here. Others, the European Commission, the Council of Europe, and other regional and international internet-related organizations, the Global IGF, EuroDig, RIVE, and so on. What else? We do attend meetings of national IGF initiatives, as we are doing this now, but we also meet online with the national IGF initiatives from time to time to talk about challenges, opportunities, exchange ideas, and get to improve each other, learning from each other. We do surveys as well. We did a survey last year on internet governance, how it is perceived in the region. The results are online. It's quite impressive to see how the community in our region actually sees internet governance. Some results are fine, so I kindly invite you to go and see them. And we did another survey this year on IDNs. Now, you know what IDNs are, right? I don't have to do these. Internationalized domain names. So that's what we also did this year because we had a session on it in Ohrid, in Macedonia. And in short, that's basically SIDIG. So SIDIG is an IGF initiative for Southeastern Europe and the neighboring area. It has an annual meeting, but it also has intersessional activities. In terms of also planning the next year meeting, we have an open call for topics. So when we say that we plan the meeting, it's not me and Sasha, my colleagues, and some other colleagues in the core team, which we call executive committee planning the meeting, but it is the community. So we have an open call for issues, which has been opened, I think, a couple of weeks ago, and will stay open until the end of December. So you have 2 months to think about issues that you would like us to discuss here in Slovenia next year. Everything internet related. And when we say we ask for issues, we don't ask for an elaborated proposal, 2 pages of, I don't know, things, just a simple sentence saying, I want to talk about privacy and security, right, the last session. Put that online and we will put things together, and then based on how many proposals on a specific topic we get, we will be organizing sessions. And actually it will be you, the community, organizing them, because again, it is not only us putting things together. So in short, this is it about SIDIG. I really hope to see you all next year at our meeting. But meanwhile, try to get engaged with our community as well. Building from your national IGF, congratulations for it now, and going a bit higher to the Southeastern European Dialogue on Internet Governance and EuroDig and the Global IGF, as Dusan has already said. And with this, if you have any questions about our work, I will be glad to answer them. I think I have spoken a bit too much and too fast, so please. No questions. Will I see you next year at SIDIG? And you will bring friends and family? Thank you.
Torej, še enkrat se zahvaljujem vsem udeležencem in ekipi, ki je pomagala organizirati današnje srečanje. to je gospodarni odbor, obema organizatorjema, Inštitutu Digitas in Arnesu. In sedaj vas seveda vabim na pogostitev, da nadaljujemo debato in se pogovorimo o naslednjih srečanjih in delovanju.
Yeah, I just wanted to say a few words at Sledi. I don't want you to rush to the content so fast. So, as ICANN, we do support Sledi. We're one of the sponsor organizations. We provide funds, we provide some expertise, but we don't provide content. We don't provide any direction on what should be discussed. And in my view, Sledi goes back to what I was saying at the end of the panel. It is really a remarkable, unique example of innovating governance. So far, and I speak about so far because we have to be bold and dare, as Steve Jobs used to say. So far it's only a discussion forum, and this is a place where everybody can come and share their own views, experiences, ideas. But I think that the way this discussion forum can evolve, it actually can become a place where policies can be then, hopefully one day, designed in a way that really respects and reflects how the internet works. And I'm Italian. I was raised and born in Italy, and every time I come to this part of Europe, and I'm based in Brussels and I travel mostly in Southern Europe, but I always feel that there is something happening here that I don't see anywhere else. There is this sense of feeling of a community that goes beyond borders. Although you have some sad history about borders, but still there is a sense of a community, and there is this extremely thoughtful analysis. I could see that on the panels. There is a young base of internet users, and there is a push for innovation. I see all the elements here coming around for bringing it to the next level. And that's why I personally support and convince ICANN to support Sledi, but also when I compare it with other discussion, other events that I see in other parts of the world, I see that there is plenty of potential here. It's an event that actually doesn't belong to a single country. It doesn't belong, to a single stakeholder group. It's like the internet. It belongs to everybody that shares and wants to contribute to that. It's defined by a region. That it's a very open definition of the region, and that's something that you don't see. I mean, look what's going on in Spain. We are seeing countries that go back into this fight of, okay, this is my region, this is my neighbor, and I don't want to be with you. Actually, Sledi is going beyond that. I think that could soon be something that students and experts in governance and public policy will look into that. But it does need your support, and as of now, we have a community which is a core community of probably a couple of hundred people, which is spread across the whole region. But I see the potential to become way larger than that, and to set the stage for something that we haven't been able to see elsewhere, not even at the global level. If you look how the Global Internet Governance Forum, which is now, 11 years old, was able to move and to grow, well, actually, you can really challenge whether it moved and it grew. It remained, for several different reasons, something that is still hosted by a small secretariat within the UN system, and the rest of the UN agencies, they make sure that it doesn't grow too much. You don't have these things here. You have really something in your hands that few people really can even fathom. And I really invite to look at the website. There will be also soon a launch for an election of members of the executive committee, and that's something that you don't see elsewhere. It's completely open and bottom up, so if you want to be personally involved into that, you can just apply and be in the steering part of that. Always being clear that, well, you represent a community, so the community will help you in the work. I always speak about community. It makes me laugh because in Italian, when you say, I go to the community, it's usually either you are an alcoholist, or drug addicted, and so you go to this place. So I hope it doesn't translate this way in Slovenian, but it's really the sense of a community that goes across the internet, that goes across different, they call the group from a region that knows a lot about dealing with boundaries, dealing with borders, and dealing with new challenges and opportunities from the internet. And I hope that next year we'll have problems in finding a venue for the next Sledi, because there will be so many people wanting to participate. So joining, have a look at the website, sign up to the mailing list, and make it yours. And you have something truly remarkable. You will see that. Thank you.
Ja, še nekaj malenkosti, ki so pa ključne. Zahvalil bi se predsedniku Državnega zbora. Zdaj, zakaj smo ga dobili sem, je v bistvu dolga zgodba, ampak tisto, kar je pomembno, je, da je predsednik prepoznal vrednost tega procesa večdeležniškega sodelovanja in ga je tudi s tem počastil z njegovim obiskom danes in z njegovim govorom, kar je zelo pomembno. Tudi to, da je SIDIG, da bo SIDIG drugo leto v Sloveniji del neke širše zgodbe, ki jo je ta odbor, izvršni odbor SIDIG-a skupaj s Slovenskim usmerjevalnim odborom pripravil. V bistvu ideja je bila, da to povežemo s predsedovanjem Slovenije enemu procesu sodelovanja v Jugovzhodni Evropi, ki mu Slovenija predseduje od julija letos do junija prihodnje leto. In če bo uspelo, Sorina je rekla, da bi bil SIDIG maja, super bi bilo, če bi bil aprila. Potem lahko zgodbo zares povežemo in tudi mogoče damo nek nov zagon te internetne skupnosti. In zdaj Andreja je govoril o zgodbah in te zgodbe v bistvu kreiramo. In to je zelo pomembno. Ne samo, da ustvarjamo skupnost, da razpravljamo o teh temah in tudi, da predstavljamo malo širše zgodbe in zato je ta regija pomembna, ker tukaj vse te zgodbe v resnici kreirajo. Tako da vas še enkrat vabim k sodelovanju v SloIGF-u, na SIDIG-u in da nadaljujemo razpravo v preddverju dvorane. Hvala lepa za udeležbo. In še na koncu, zahvaljujem se tolmački in tehnični ekipi in posebej iz hotela za podporo sodelovanja.